Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC Qatar. In this one, we have one of the weirdest fights I think I've ever seen so far. Now, granted, I might be saying this a year or two down the line, but right now, this is the oddest matchmaking I think I'm going to see for a while. We have Jack Hermansson taking on Myktybek Orolbai. Yeah, you heard that right. Longtime middleweight veteran Jack Hermansson is going to be moving down to welterweight for the first time in his whole career, taking on Myktybek Orolbai, a lightweight who cannot seem to make the weight and is forced to move up a division. So you basically got a middleweight and a lightweight taking on each other at welterweight. Kind of interesting how we've gotten to this point. Because you have Jack Hermansson, a seasoned, well-rounded fighter with sharp striking and a relentless grappling game, while you got Orolbai, on the other hand, is a strong, aggressive wrestler with a dangerous submission game, looking to dominate his opponents on the ground. This fight is going to come down to pace. Can Hermansson control the distance and outstrike Orolbai, or will Orolbai pressure, wrestle, and ground game be just too much for the Joker? Before I get down to the technical, I guess here's some context for this fight. So lately, Jack Hermansson had been trading wins and losses throughout his career. Like, and you look at his last 5 fights, he loses to, oh my God, sorry about that. In his last fight, he lost to Gregory Rodriguez at UFC 317. Vicious knockout. Absolutely vicious. I thought it looked like RoboCop killed him in that octagon. I ain't gonna lie. But before that, he won a unanimous decision against Joe Pyfer in a 5-round fight, which, has aged really well. Before that, he had a loss to, give me 1 second there. There we go. He had a loss to Roman Dolidze about a year, almost 3 years ago. Oh, then a decision win to Chris Curtis, which was 3 years ago. And then a decision loss to Sean Strickland. So he's been trading wins and losses. Not very active. This is going to be his second fight in a calendar year. Before that, one fight last year, then one fight the year before that. Now, granted, he did fight 2 times in 2022. Meanwhile, you have Myktybek Orolbai, who he's fought at welterweight before. He fought Uros Medic in his debut. And then in his first lightweight bout, he did make the weight against Els Brenner. But in his last 2 fights against Mateusz Rebecki, which was a war, and then Tuf Musayev, both those fights ended up being catch weights of 160 pounds and 165 pounds, respectively. So it just seems Orolbai cannot make the weight whatsoever. I don't know why. I don't know why he can't make this weight because he clearly done it before, but I guess he's just too big of a lightweight. Now, granted, he's not small for welterweight. He's actually still really strong, and we saw it with Uros Medic. I'm just kind of baffled by it. I mean, granted, I knew he could fight at welterweight, and probably this is the smarter division for him to be in. But Jack Hermansson moving down, I guess that knockout to RoboCop really messed him up. But here's the thing: all of Hermansson's losses, like to Cannonier, to Strickland, to Vittori, and whatnot, none of those losses are because he's like small for the middleweight division. Hermansson fills out middleweight pretty well, and he's fought in this division all his life. So him cutting down to welterweight, I mean, at 15 pounds, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the big question is, can Hermansson make the weight? That's going to be the biggest question. But without further ado, let's break down their styles. So starting with Jack Hermansson, and he's made a name for himself as being a tough, gritty fighter with solid striking and a heavy focus on grappling. Hermansson is a guy who thrives on pressure. He's not he's not a knockout artist whatsoever. And even for as good as his grappling is, he's not necessarily a submission artist. What he is, though, is very well rounded. He does have a good top game. You've seen it because he took on world renowned grapplers like Jack Hermansson, and not only survived his guard but beat him on the ground. And David Branch, who may not be the best fighter in the world, but David Branch at that time did have good grappling. Jack, and for his striking style, Hermansson has a more herky-jerky style, kind of constant twitching movement. Mostly fights at range using his jabs and calf kicks. He doesn't throw much. No, I take it back. He doesn't throw much in combination, nor does he really have much other arsenals in the toolbox. But what he has, he uses it to great effect. You saw, for example, in his fight with Joe Pyfer, he was able to keep Pyfer at bay, survive the big power shots for the first 2 rounds, and then just fluster and frustrate Piper with a persistent jab, calf kicks, and then every now and again go for a takedown. Or with Chris Curtis, frustrate a much shorter opponent than him and just fight at range. And even now and again, when Hermansson is in the pocket, he does have solid elbows and knees, but primarily he fights at distance and until he finds the opportunity to go for the takedown. And that's often what makes him so effective is that, what's that phrase? I fear not the man who knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who knows one kick and has practiced it 10,000 times. Hermansson doesn't have many weapons, but the weapons he does have, he knows how to use them to great effect. Now, on the ground, Hermansson is very dangerous, like I said. He's got strong takedowns and is great at controlling the action once he gets there. He doesn't always look for submission. He's content to grind out his opponents. I mean, you saw the thrashing he put on Edmund Shabazian when after surviving an early storm. And he's very good at wearing down his opponents with the ground and pound, and he takes what he can get. But when he does see an opportunity for a submission, his submission game is very slick. I mean, you saw it when he caught Kelvin Gastelum in a heel hook because Gastelum just what's the word I'm looking for here? I guess was just too content or got a lapse in judgment. That's it, a lapse in judgment. The biggest thing for Hermansson is usually his cardio. He can push a high pace for 3 rounds, which makes him a dangerous opponent in the later rounds. However, he's not invulnerable. He has been caught in exchanges, and his defensive wrestling is solid, not foolproof. But here's the thing: how's that cardio going to look like dropping 15 fucking pounds? That's the big question. Again, I don't even know if he's going to make the weight. So that plus, 37 years old, his chin has taken a bunch of damage. Like I said, that Gregory Rodriguez knockout was nasty. I think I the fight he had with Cannonier. I mean, Hermansson is taking a pounding. And like I said, 37, man. There's very few fighters I can think of who have, moved down a division who are past 35 and be successful. The only ones you can think of are Randy Couture and Daniel Cormier, and that's it. Now, looking at Myktybek Orolbai, or the caveman, this guy is an absolute force on the fucking ground, man. Orolbai is a very strong wrestler with powerful takedowns and great control once the fight hits the mat. He's not a striker. He's not looking to outpoint you with technical combinations, but Orolbai does have good power in his hands. You saw it when he hurt Ellis Brenner. You saw it in that Mateusz Trubisky fight, which, he did lose, but it was a close fight where both were hurting each other badly. But more times than not, Orolbai is looking to get in close, clinch, and make things uncomfortable. His striking is more of a setup for his wrestling with heavy punches and kicks to back him up. But once Orolbai gets his hands on you, that's a different ball game. His takedown game is relentless, and once he gets you on the ground, he's looking for dominant positions, ground control, and submission. He's especially dangerous He's especially dangerous once he gets the back and or on top control. You saw in the Musayev fight how he was able to get half guard, get the Kimura, and look like he was going to wrench that arm completely off. Or the face crank or the neck crank, I'm sorry. The neck crank to Uros Medic, where it looked like he was going to pop his head off like a bottle cap. Orolbai is very good at joint space submissions. I'm not talking about chokes or something. I'm not talking about chokes like an arm triangle and or rear naked choke. More so those submissions like that, like I said, the Kimuras, the arm bars, the neck cranks, something that attacks the joints, because his squeeze and his strength are so good that unless you tap, he's taking that arm home with him. That's basically what I feel like. Now, as I've said, Orolbai's striking is not the best, but it's nothing to sleep on either. He has power in his hands. He's good at closing distance quickly, and he's always working towards the takedown. His takedown defense is also solid, which will be a key when facing someone like Hermansson, who, honestly, let's say the weight cut goes fine, right? I don't think Hermansson is going to be stronger than Orolbai in this fight. That's something I got to take into consideration. So we've got a clear stylistic clash here. Jack Hermansson, who's going to want to keep this fight at range, use his volume striking to break down Orolbai, and then look for opportunities to shoot his own takedowns in. Because I know Hermansson's not going to fear wrestling. I mean, he actually fought in a grappling match with Hamzat Chimaev, which, he fought admirably in it, and he didn't get subbed out. So, it's just to say Hermansson's not scared to implement his own grappling game. Excuse me. Now, Hermansson will need to keep his footwork sharp, avoid getting backed up against the cage, and make sure when Orolbai comes in with those big strikes, he can slip and counter, or just in general use his persistent strikings, like I said, that calf kick and that jab. Orolbai's game plan is going to be on forward pressure, getting close, start working in the clinch, and get his fight to the ground where he can secure top position. And because Orolbai is going to use his top control, grind out, like I said, grind the position out, and hunt for submission because his submission game is sneaky and aggressive, and he's not afraid to jump on opportunities. Hermansson's biggest test here will be avoiding the clinch and takedowns. If he gets stuck against the cage or taken down early, Orolbai's ground game could stifle him completely. And on the feet, Hermansson has a real advantage in terms of technique and volume, but he's got to be cautious of the pressure and power of Orolbai. The real question, I guess, becomes whether Hermansson can make Orolbai pay for being too aggressive or keep him at range. And if he can do that, he could outpoint Orolbai. But if Orolbai can close the distance and get the fight to the mat, he's going to have the edge in terms of control. And while I think both are good submission artists, I favor the submission artist who not so much hunts for the submission in per se, but has the more aggressive submission game. I guess you could think of it as the same thing. But what I mean is Hermansson's submission is more opportunistic. If he sees the opening, he's going to jump on it. While Orolbai's is more aggressive, like he's actively looking to hurt you with these submissions more than the opportunity presents itself, is what I mean. So for my official prediction here, I gotta go Myktybek Orolbai. Hermansson is definitely a tough guy and his striking is solid, but I just don't know how he's gonna look like with this weight cut, man. I don't. Let's say, all right, like I said, let's say he makes the weight fine. I don't trust his chin, and as he got chin checked badly by RoboCop. Now he's moving down a weight class against a very hard hitter in Orolbai. I don't like that chances whatsoever. And he's been controlled on the ground before. Like the Lidsay was able to reverse position on him. Vettori was able to keep top position and stay out of trouble. I think Myktybek Orolbai can do the same, and he's going to be much stronger than Hermansson in a lot of the grappling exchanges. So my official prediction, I'm going to go Myktybek Orolbai, and I think he can get a ground and pound TKO here or a club and sub as well. I think he's going to finish Hermansson. And I honestly do see him catching Hermansson and finishing it with ground pound. But I can also see Orolbai like, okay, ground and pound's working. He gives us his back. Go for a submission. One of the two. But I would lean more towards the TKO in this one. So once again, my official prediction, I'm going to go Myktybek Orolbai, and I'm going to pick him via knockout. TKO. But that being said, that's been my prediction of this fight. If you like the video, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win. But until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. Stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. See you all next time.